Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into an absolute game changer in medical AI. We are looking at a massive leap forward that shifts the entire focus away from just isolated diagnostics and toward continuous, start-to-finish patient care. We're talking about a system that doesn't just identify a problem and clock out. It literally walks alongside the patient and the physician through the entire healing journey.
So what actually happens when AI stops just answering isolated medical questions and starts co-managing an entire hospital stay? Well, we're going to explore that by looking at OrthoPilot. It's a revolutionary new system designed specifically for longitudinal musculoskeletal care. You know, for a long time, medical AI has functioned a bit like a highly advanced textbook. You ask it a question based on a specific snapshot in time, and it gives you an answer. But real-world medicine, especially when we're talking about bones, joints, and muscles, doesn't work in snapshots. It's an ongoing, dynamic process. OrthoPilot is designed to bridge that exact gap, stepping out of the simple Q&A realm and into the messy, complex reality of managing a real hospital stay.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the limits of single-point diagnosis, meet the OrthoPilot system itself, dive into its two worlds of evidence, check out the benchmarks, see how it stacks up against expert physicians, and finally, look at the real-world hospital impact.
Section 1. Beyond single-point diagnosis, the longitudinal challenge. We really have to recognize that musculoskeletal care isn't just a quick fix, right? It's a long journey that can unfold over months or even years. But the crucial problem here is that patient data gets heavily fragmented along the way. This makes it incredibly difficult for clinicians to maintain individualized, evidence-based management over time. Musculoskeletal diseases, things like osteoarthritis, complex spinal issues, severe fractures, these are some of the leading causes of disability worldwide. Recovery takes a long time. Pain levels fluctuate, mobility changes, and rehab goals are constantly evolving. And because all of this information gets scattered across different hospital departments, imaging centers, and electronic health records, the continuity of care often just shatters into isolated episodes. The physician at step 4 might literally have no idea what critical context was established back at step 1.
And this is exactly where we see a fundamental paradigm shift. Look, traditional AI is essentially a static encyclopedia. It's great for looking things up, handling bounded tasks, and giving you closed-form answers based on isolated fragments of a case. OrthoPilot, on the other hand, acts as a continuous clinical navigator that travels alongside the patient. It's what we call an agentic AI. This means it can actually execute longitudinal management, figure out what data is missing, go retrieve it from across different hospital systems, and dynamically evolve its recommendations as the patient state changes from admission all the way through to discharge.
Section 2. Meet the OrthoPilot system, a clinical agent for full pathway care. OrthoPilot basically sits right in the dead center of the care pathway, acting as this tireless clinical coordinator. From the moment of admission right through to rehabilitation, it pulls all the disparate pieces together. Let's say a patient with hemophilia needs joint replacement surgery. OrthoPilot will automatically pull that patient's specific lab results and x-rays from the internal hospital system while simultaneously grabbing the absolute latest clinical guidelines on managing hemophilia during surgery from the outside world. It then synthesizes both streams of information into a concrete, highly traceable, and evidence-backed medical order. At the very heart of this entire system is an engine called CHEESE. Yeah, I know, CHEESE, which stands for the Clinical Holistic Evidence-to-Execution Synthesis Engine. Despite the playful name, this is serious tech. It's a lightweight but highly specialized 32 billion parameter clinical large language model. What makes CHEESE so unique is that it was trained on a massive 21-year longitudinal cohort from a high-volume hospital covering over 183,000 patients. So it wasn't just trained to pass multiple-choice medical board exams, it was trained using reinforcement learning to support complex sequential decision-making. It actually learned how expert care trajectories unfold in the real world over time. Section 3. Two worlds of evidence. The tool Plaza architecture. To pull off these complex decisions, OrthoPilot uses something called the tool Plaza. Think of this like a bustling, high-tech command center. Sub-agents seamlessly retrieve patient-specific medical history from the in-hospital information world, while at the exact same time anchoring those decisions to the external knowledge world. The main AI agent will identify what evidence is missing, say an updated MRI or a very specific pathology report, and it deploys sub-agents into the hospital's network to find it. Simultaneously, other sub-agents are sent out to scour PubMed, clinical guidelines, and biomedical knowledge graphs. The end result?
Every single clinical recommendation OrthoPilot makes is grounded in both the reality of that specific patient and the most up-to-date global medical science. Section 4. Benchmarking the care pathway, validating clinical agency with OrthoBench. Now, to prove this actually works outside of theory, the researchers built OrthoBench. This is a rigorous clinical-grade benchmark that tested the AI across 1,000 distinct disease codes derived from nearly 6,000 real patients. Existing medical AI benchmarks usually just ask decontextualized one-off questions. OrthoBench is totally different. It features 11 tasks organized along an actual clinical timeline. Everything from the initial admission diagnosis down to multidisciplinary consultations and discharge summaries. It tests whether the AI can sustain its clinical agency across sequential decision points. When you map out the performance across 62 different diseases, the contrast is completely stark. OrthoPilot consistently outperforms other leading frontier models like MedGemma, DeepSeek R1, and GPT 5.1. And what's absolutely crucial here is that OrthoPilot's advantage holds true not just for your common, everyday fractures, but also for incredibly rare, long-tail diseases. It proves the system isn't just regurgitating memorized patterns, it is dynamically reasoning through highly complex, diverse clinical presentations.
Section 5. AI versus expert physicians, the human versus AI showdown.
So, how does it stack up against actual doctors? Well, they pitted the tech against 81 orthopedic physicians in a comprehensive reader study. When testing closed-ended diagnostic reasoning, the expert human group maxed out at about 61% accuracy. OrthoPilot, working entirely on its own, hit over 76%. Its diagnostic reasoning significantly surpassed even the most seasoned human specialists. We're talking doctors with over 25 years of clinical experience. But honestly, it gets even wilder when we evaluate open-ended tasks, like drafting a discharge summary or creating a long-term rehabilitation plan. Using the specialized Oracle scoring system, which grades the AI on whether it includes clinically meaningful evidence rather than just matching simple keywords, OrthoPilot scored an 82. That drastically outperformed the expert human baseline of 68. Now, remember, the future of medicine isn't about replacing doctors, it's about augmenting them. In a prospective crossover study tracking 1,870 highly complex cases, physicians first evaluated the cases completely unassisted. Then, they waited a minimum of 6 weeks to clear their memory, a washout period, before re-evaluating the exact same cases, but this time with OrthoPilot acting as their assistant. The outcome was staggering. Using OrthoPilot as a co-pilot skyrocketed the full chain management success rate from 16.6% all the way up to 27.2%. That is a massive jump in clinical accuracy.
Section 6. Real-world hospital impact, the 8-month randomized deployment.
Okay, so it works in a study, but how does this actually perform in the messy, chaotic reality of a real hospital? An 8-month randomized deployment with over 8,200 inpatients at Rugen Hospital proves that this theoretical AI excellence absolutely translates into physical, real-world benefits. Patients were randomly assigned to either standard care or OrthoPilot-assisted care. The data captured everything from hospital-level efficiency and bed turnover to perceived workload by the nursing staff and even detailed patient satisfaction surveys. The crucial takeaway here is that OrthoPilot doesn't just make better medical decisions, it vastly improves hospital efficiency and the patient's actual lived experience. The average length of stay for patients was significantly reduced. Because of that, the cumulative cases handled per hospital bed increased by 9.7%. To put that into perspective, that is a massive operational leap for any major hospital. Furthermore, both physicians and nurses reported significant drops in the time and mental burden required for documentation. And perhaps most importantly, the patients themselves reported higher satisfaction. They noted much better communication, clearer understanding of medical terminology, and superior access to their own health information. Which means the next time you or a loved one needs a hospital stay, an AI backend like this could literally be the difference between a frustrating, fragmented experience and a seamlessly guided recovery. The researchers put it perfectly when they noted that these results establish an entirely new paradigm for clinical AI. We are no longer just looking at AI that can pass a medical board exam in a vacuum. We are looking at a system embedded into the very fabric of the hospital workflow, one that actively acquires evidence, continually updates its reasoning, and assists human doctors at every single step of a patient's months-long journey. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. If an AI agent can successfully navigate the sheer complexities of continuous musculoskeletal care, synthesizing fragmented hospital data with global medical knowledge to improve both clinical outcomes and hospital efficiency, what other complex medical journeys are ready for an AI co-pilot? Are we looking at oncology next? Chronic disease management? Neurology? The paradigm has absolutely shifted, and the future of longitudinal care is incredibly exciting. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.